In the grand theater of life, we all seek a comeback, a resurgence, a rekindling of our inner fire. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience. This is not just another podcast. This is a journey, a venture into the heart of human spirit, the power of resilience, and the art of reigniting our passions. Tell us some of the things that you have done, because I know you shared with us meditation. So kind of share with us some of the stuff. And how were you introduced to that? Like, how did you pick that? Or was this something that you had known about before? I'd love to know everything.
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm happy to share whatever I can. I want to help people get there faster than I did. So, even though I was working like a maniac, I always was trying to get well. So when I wasn't working, I was literally studying, reading books, going to online webinars. I've been everywhere and done everything, as much as sleeping with certain crystals under my pillow, to grounding sheets, to, eating all the diets and everything in between. Literally, I have done everything. I've been to level 1 psychiatric facilities to treat my trauma. I've done EMDR, holographic reprocessing. I mean, everything that I could find, I tried it because I wanted to get well. And so when this happened, I had already walked all of that ground, right? I had already tried all of those things and without success most of the time. Sometimes I would get, symptoms would alleviate for a bit, but never lasting. I never got any mileage out of any of it really, And so what I knew is, back up about 10 years before this happened, I started having insomnia. Not just like run-of-the-mill insomnia, like you have trouble sleeping, you're awake a couple of hours, or it takes you a couple of hours to sleep. No, I was awake for like 6 and 7 hours a night. So I would go to bed at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I'd sleep. If I was lucky, I'd sleep an hour or two if I was super lucky. And then I would wake up before midnight, and then I would be awake literally all through the night. And then I would usually fall back to sleep around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I would sleep for like maybe another hour or two. And that's how I lived. And that was awful. Oh my God, it was so awful. I can't even express. Trying to run my business, trying to do all the things, as sick as I was. I mean, really, it was, you would think, right, that I would have been like, oh man, maybe somebody's trying to get my attention, right? Nah, it's just completely.
Just
right?
Keep forging 100 miles an hour. Keep going. Just keep going.
Yes. Just go. And I just, like looking back, it's so mind-boggling to me. So at that time, I had tried everything. I went to Buddhist sanghas. I sat in meditations. I tried different kinds of meditations. I did all of these things. And I've always been a spiritual explorer and seeker, always, my whole life. Even though I grew up in a Catholic home and went to Catholic school, I knew early on that that wasn't going to be my path, but it still was fascinating to me, right? Like I just, there was something about it, right? And so when I got sober, I really started down a spiritual path. Like that was my thing, really my thing, because I had to find purpose and meaning in my experiences. And the only way I could do that was by finding a spiritual path. And I'm not anything. I don't claim to be this, that, or the other. I don't practice anything. I practice what resonates for me deeply. And that is connecting to my highest self and the energy that is within me and all around me. And the meditation piece, I kept knocking on the doors looking, where is this? What speaks to me? And I love Buddhism. And sitting in that Sangha was so powerful for like 3 years. And I thought for sure I was going to become Buddhist. That's how deeply it resonated for me. But I didn't end up, because I still felt like that put me in some sort of box and container. And so I kept looking, and I found Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if anybody's familiar with him. Yeah, amazing, right? So this is what's so cool, right? So I found his meditations. This is back when he had no meditations online. You had to buy the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and read the meditations and record them for yourself, right? That's how long ago I found him. And so I read the book and I was like, oh my God, this is 100% my problem. And oh my God, I have no idea how I would ever implement this in my life and keep doing what I'm doing, which is the exact opposite intention of the book. And and I didn't implement that. But what I did do is I ended up finding his work on CDs, and I started listening to his CDs, and I started listening to his meditation. And the first time I meditated that night, I slept 9 hours.
Wow.
9 hours.
That's incredible.
I was a believer. From that moment, there was nothing else that anyone needed to tell me. I was a believer. And I committed every day to meditate to that CD. And I did every single day. I get done work, and at 5:00, I would put the CD on. I do my meditation, and every night I slept.
Wow.
And I'm like, wait a minute, this is amazing. But because I was getting the results that I wanted, I didn't do any of his other work. I didn't start working with my thinking. I didn't do any of that stuff. So when I got really sick in 2021, I had always been a student of his. I had always been practicing the meditations. Like at that time, I had like 20 in the catalog that I would rotate through, and I was meditating like at least an hour a day. It's like, my vibe. And so when I got so sick, I was like, I need to do this work again. Like I need to go back, right? I took the class like 5-10 years ago, but I need to go back again and do this again. So I took the class, and I was doing Qigong at the time also. So I was doing Qigong in the morning and Dr. Joe at night, and Qigong in the morning, Dr. Joe at night. And Qigong and Dr. Joe are really, really similarly aligned also. And I felt like I wasn't doing either of them 100%. I was doing both of them like probably about 50. So at the end of 2021, I was like, I need to decide and I need to pick a path. It took me weeks to decide this because I love them both so deeply. And I decided on Dr. Joe's work. So I started doing that work. And then I started meditating like 3 and 4 hours a day, because people that say they heal their body using Dr. Joe's work, that's what they do.
Yeah.
So I just did it. I started meditating 3 to 4 hours a day, and I immediately started having these profound, incredibly, deeply mystical, healing, unbelievable, mind-blowing experiences. And I knew that I was on the path. So I just kept going. I kept working on what I was thinking. I kept doing all of the things. And then my body couldn't take it. Every time I started meditating, I started having an allergic reaction. The histamine was flaring. The mast cells were flaring. Everything. It was like my body was literally resisting what I was doing. And I was like, what? You can't really? You know what I mean? I was dumbfounded, lost for words. And my doctor is amazing in every way possible. She is a yogi practitioner and has been for like 30 years. And she kept saying to me, Dr. Joe is amazing. And he is. She said, but this is the thing, Marcy. So are you. And you have your own wisdom, and your body knows what it needs. And right now it's telling you this is not what it needs. And I was like, but I'm healing. And she's like, I see you, but your body's telling you something different. And that, my friends, is when I got it. That is when I understood that the body is always communicating with us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So my tremors would intensify by 10 as soon as I started thinking about work. Am I going to have my career? Am I going to be able to go back? Am I going to be financially okay? As soon as I started that dialogue, the tremors increased by tenfold. If I could sit and be in this moment and just say, this is okay. Everything's okay right now. It doesn't matter what the next moment's going to bring. But right now, Marcy, in this moment, you're okay and you're safe. Right? So the body's always communicating. So I have to listen. That's my job. And that's what I've found. So it's a long story about meditating, but it's the whole story.
Incredible.
So listening to your body, the meditation piece is still one of the key modalities that you use, and then the mindset work, and the introspective piece of that practice that you built for yourself, really tailoring it to where you are and where you're going.
Yes, 150%. So I've created all my own program, essentially, right? Like my own, this is the path.
Yeah.
And because I had a nervous system that was so fragmented and so broken from the trauma that was residing in my body, that's why the meditations didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Because there was no container of safety in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to become my own container of safety. So I have spent the last 2 years working on learning how to heal my nervous system, learning how to regulate my nervous system, and then doing this parts work, right? And lots of people talk about parts work now and IFS, internal family systems, and all this stuff. And all of those modalities are fantastic if they work for you, but they don't for me. You see, my body didn't trust anyone or anything. I am the only one that can be my own facilitator because my nervous system, if I tried to work with people, I had a whole team. I had energy healers and therapists. I mean, literally, acupuncture, naturopath, the whole team. And when I got so sick and after the crisis, none of those people, I couldn't work with any of them anymore. None of my nervous system wouldn't tolerate it.
Yeah.
So I literally had to be my own healer. And so parts work, the way that I do parts work is figuring out what parts of myself are unhealed. Right. And I can tell you that it's taken me 2 years and I still work with this part, but not very often. It's taken me almost 2 years to heal the first 7 days of my life, the fragmentation in my nervous system. Right. And if you don't know where your nervous system is fragmented, you don't have to remember. You just have to look at where your life is today. Your life today is telling you where you're not healed, right? So, like, for example, for me, I lived in a state of fear all the time, right? If you ask me, Marcy, do you want to meet over for live music this afternoon at 5 o'clock? The first thought that I had in my mind was, what if there's an active shooter there? What if we get in a car accident on the way there? What if you die before you come to pick me up? That's how my mind thought. Right? So that is a really big indicator that I hold a lot of fear. Okay. So, okay, obviously, yes, the car accident. Okay, yes, great. Okay, the alcoholic father. Yes, okay, great. I get that. Right. Like, so you just keep going through and eventually you find the parts, right, where that resonates. And if you sit still long enough, your body is going to answer you. Right. So, like, for me, I'll ask, like, this is the youngest part of myself that I know that's having a difficult time right now. And then you just sit and you wait and you'll feel something shift in your body. You'll feel a sensation. You're going to feel something. And that's your indication that you've connected.
Beautiful.
And then you heal that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Love that.
So listening to your body, I think that's probably something that a lot of us don't do.
Mhm.
We push through that. Oh, that's fine. That little twings, that little whatever, and we're like, no, it's going to be fine. And then you hear about people that
And
dropped dead of heart attacks, and you're like,
yeah.
well, they probably had some signs. So
Or you
how,
have that 2:30 a.m. moment that Marcy mentions, right? It's like that 2:30 a.m. Here we are, no
yeah,
turning back. Yeah.
yeah. So how do you get yourself in this place of just listening to your body and then acting upon that without going down this rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, let me get on WebMD and see what chronic whatever I have, which I
Yes.
think people could do too. I think there's like this fine line.
Yeah, so it's super important to know that we are energy first and we are physical second, right? And as we go through our lives and we have these experiences in our lives, then each of these experiences enter our energy field, right? And as they enter our energy field, the ones that are negative send out and create chemicals in our body that lower the frequency of our body. It changes the way the energy flows through the body. So if the energy is supposed to go like this, now those experiences may make the energy go like this. As soon as the energy starts to flow differently in the body, then the body starts to have disease and difficulty, right? It's not communicating correctly because the energy is not sending the correct signals. So when I fully understood that and really got that on a cellular level, that is the truth, that is who we are, how we're constructed and made as a human being, then that helped so much in terms of managing tremors in my brain, managing erratic heart rates, right? The way that I came to understand that is that all of these things that were going on were imbalances of energy in my body, right? Was I going to die? Maybe. Maybe I was, right? I don't know. But what I knew is that there was an imbalance. And when there's an imbalance, all you have to do to heal is figure out how to bring balance.
Yeah.
If you can even out that imbalance, then you're going to bring health and healing, right? So when I would have these experiences, I became more readily willing to listen to my body because I could set the fear aside, not entirely, but often I could set it aside maybe like 50% and and just start to be curious. Like, what is this? Right. And so that's what I've learned. That's what I've learned how to listen to the body is understanding who the body is and what the body is, and
Mhm.
understand that energy has no bounds. Energy has no bounds, right? And it's always communicating, it's always giving and receiving. It never sleeps, it never stops, it never shuts off, it doesn't die, it's indestructible, right? So when you think of the body in that capacity, then it's like, oh, well, then I can just be curious about, why both of my knees hurt all the time. Why is that? What is my relationship with the earth,
Yeah.
right? That my knees are trying to tell me, right?
I think that's a big piece, Marcy. And I feel that that's a misstep that a lot of individuals, or some individuals, I won't say a lot, I don't know how many are out there, but when we think about the energetic frequency of us and this environment that we're in, let's just think about the heart palpitations. Let's start with that piece of it. And if it's thinking about it from the stance of, gosh, well, I've got this rapid heart rate or I'm having heart palpitations. So then focus all of your energy on calming that down instead of focusing the energy on, or you're focusing your attention on regulating your energy, right? Like getting it back into whatever direction your energy is flowing anyway. And so I think that's a huge nugget that you've just shared with us. It's not shifting all of your attention to fix the thing. It's shifting your attention to figure out what is happening, what's going on, and how can we realign it to get back into that frequency or that state that's natural for us.
150%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huge. Oh my goodness. Marcy, if someone is just starting out their journey in terms of exploring energetic work or even just navigating through any of the adversities that they may be facing, what advice would you give to those individuals that are at the start line?
Yeah, that's always such a great question because it brings me back, right, to when I was at the start line. And I wanted relief immediately, right? That's why I drank because it was immediate, right? And drugs because it was immediate. So I wanted relief immediately. And let's just be honest, right? Let's be honest. Healing takes time, right? I've been doing this work since I was 27 years old. I'm 48. You know, it takes time. Time takes time. And I think just to even begin to grease the track per se for the beginning of your process, just surrendering to that idea and knowing that this is going to take time and it's going to take commitment, so much commitment on your part. And if you can just get there, then you're half the way there, honestly. And then the next thing that I think is most important right behind that, it's so hard for me to say what's the next most important thing because there's so many things that are so important. But the first thing that is so important is the way that you talk to yourself and the thoughts that you think.
Mm, yeah.
Right? If I wake up every day and I'm like, I don't deserve to be alive because I believe that I've killed 3 people. I mean, you don't really have far to go from there, right? There, that doesn't really leave any room open for anything positive to happen the rest of the day,
No.
right? So we all have our own story. What is yours, right? Where does that come from, right? Was it your one caretaker telling you all the time, you don't need to feel like that anymore. You're too sensitive. Don't act like that around me. We don't need to hear that today, right? All of that, whatever that talk is, or whatever the story was that you were raised with, identify the story and stop telling it to yourself.
I love that. Number one, first and foremost, if you're at the starting line, surrendering. So it's not action, it's surrendering. Let's surrender first.
That's
and then
right.
check in on that self-talk.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Marcy, where can our listeners find you if they'd like to connect with you further beyond this episode?
Yeah, thank you so much. I love to work with people who are stuck. You've been at this for 10, 12, 15 years and you don't know where else to go. You're at the end of your rope. Those are my people, really honestly. Trauma, addiction, recovery, chronic illness. And you can find me on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And then I think you gals are going to put my links in your show notes, right? And so for your show, I'm offering for the next 24 hours, if people reach out to me on my website that you put in the show notes, that I'll offer them a 20% discount to work with me. So they can schedule a call with me to see if we're a good fit. Because I don't want to, if I can't help you, I'm just going to tell you up front, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to waste people's time at all. I want to work with people that I know I'm confident that I can help. So I just extend that, free call, see if we're a good fit. And if we're a good fit, great.
I appreciate that. Thank you for extending that offer to our listeners. What a treasure that is.
You bet.
Marcy, is there anything that we haven't touched on today that you wanted to talk about?
I think the thing that is the most important for me to say at the end of all of this is that people can hear my story often and say, oh my gosh, I don't, what am I crying about? Because my story didn't have anything like that. And, I had two parents and I had running water and, whatever. Right. And what I want to say is that we all have a story and that we all have experiences that are so difficult, and that it's important to know that it really doesn't matter exactly what the particulars are of each person's story. It only matters that we connect through the feelings and emotions that we all elicit through our own experience, right? You know what grief means. I know what sadness and despair means. You know what guilt feels like, right? It doesn't matter what the experience was that caused us to emote that, but it's the connection. It's finding the similarity and not the difference. And to know that no matter what experience you've had, I'm certain no matter what experience you have had, there is always hope. Always hope.
Love it.
Beautiful. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Marcy, it's been yes, absolutely. Thank you. First of all, thank you for sharing your story with the listeners and sharing your story with us. We really appreciate that. And thank you for sharing the tools and the nuggets and the insight today. I know that I had some ahas.
Good. I'm so glad. That's what I do this for. So I'm so grateful that you found it so helpful, and really what an honor to be here. Anytime I get to share my story and inspire hope, I'm all about it.
Well, it was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Absolutely. Well, as Marcy mentioned, we will put all of her contact information in the show notes so you can connect with her once this airs and reach out to her to do that discovery call, as she mentioned, to see if there's a connection. And Marcy, thank you for being candid. If it's a fit, great. If it's not a fit, let's make sure that you connect with somebody that is a fit and it's not me, and I don't want to waste your time. So we will have all of that available in the show notes for you guys. And if you're wanting to learn more about what's happening in the world of Reignite Resilience, head on over to reigniteresilience.com or follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where you can see the latest and happenings. We'll see you all soon. Have a good one. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Reignite Resilience. We hope that you had amazing ahas and takeaways. Remember to subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like it, and download the upcoming episodes. And if you know anyone in your life that is looking to continue to ignite their resilience, share it with them. We look forward to seeing you on our future episodes. And until then, continue to reignite that fire within your hearts.